I'm 42 male, and for the last 20 years, my life has been the engineering firm I started right after college. My wife of 15 years, and I had what looked like a perfect life from the outside. Nice house, 2 cars, all that jazz. But if you were on the inside, you'd know the temperature had dropped below freezing about a year ago. Our conversations became all about logistics, like we were business partners managing a property, not a husband and wife. The warmth was just gone. The moment I knew something was seriously wrong was on a random Tuesday. My wife was in the shower, and her tablet buzzed on the nightstand. It was a calendar notification, and the preview text popped up. Follow up with M. Davis. Yes, Qley, the name meant nothing to me, so I searched it. Turns out M. Davis is one of the most vicious divorce attorneys in our state. They call her the Shark. My first thought was to deny it, to tell myself it was for a friend or something. But it was too much of a coincidence. She had been asking weirdly specific questions lately, always casual. How's the business doing? Or did that inheritance from your aunt ever come through? I had inherited a decent sum about 6 months back, and, at her suggestion, I'd left it sitting in a savings account while we decided what to do with it. Her suggestion now felt less like advice and more like strategy. I didn't say a word to her. I just started paying attention. I saw how she'd quickly close her laptop when I walked in a room. I noticed a new password-protected folder on our shared computer labeled Finances. The real nail in the coffin came when I was looking for an insurance paper in our filing cabinet. Tucked inside an old tax folder was a printout. It was a neat list of everything we owned. The house, my 401k, my business. Next to each item, in her handwriting, were notes like for sale and alimony calculation. And right next to my inheritance, she'd written commingled with a big question mark. It hit me then. This wasn't a breakup. It was a planned demolition. She was waiting for me to move that inheritance into a joint account or use it to buy a vacation house we'd been talking about. The second I did that, it would become marital property and she could take half. She was setting a trap. So I decided it was my turn to play. The next morning, I got a recommendation for a lawyer who was supposedly even tougher than hers. His nickname was the Barracuda. I sat in his office and laid out everything I'd found. He listened, nodding slowly, and when I was done, he said, "She's not trying to divorce you. She's trying to execute a hostile takeover. Our job is to make sure the company is worthless to her." He explained the law to me. My inheritance was my separate property, but only if I kept it separate. My business, which I started before we got married, was tricky. Its value before the marriage was mine, but all the growth since was marital property. Her plan was clearly to inflate the value of that growth and then claim half. For the next 2 weeks, I lived a double life. At home, I was the same husband I'd been for months. At work, I was in a war room. On my lawyer's advice, we hired a forensic accountant to put a rock-solid, legally defensible valuation on my business, clearly separating the premarital value from the marital growth. It was a fraction of what she had likely been led to believe. Next, we dealt with the inheritance. I didn't hide it. I moved it. I set up an ironclad, irrevocable trust for my niece, with my sister as the trustee. The money was legally and officially gifted for estate planning purposes. It was no longer mine, so it couldn't be part of any divorce settlement. All while I was doing this, my wife was laying it on thick. She'd send me listings for lake houses, saying things like, "Wouldn't this be a great use of your inheritance money?" It was chilling. She had no idea that I was dismantling her entire strategy piece by piece. She thought she was leading me into a trap, but I was the one setting the stage. Finally, I opened a new bank account in my name only and had my salary redirected there, leaving just enough in the joint account to keep the bills paid. 2 weeks after I found her notes, my defenses were in place. I didn't have to wait. That Friday, a guy served me with divorce papers at my office. I came home to a house that had been ransacked of anything valuable. All her stuff, most of the art, and the new SUV were gone. She left a note on the counter that just said, "I've filed. All future communication should be through my attorney, M. Davis." It was so cold and corporate. I just texted back, "Understood." Then I called my lawyer, and then I called and canceled all her credit cards. The game had officially started. Her initial divorce petition was pure fantasy. She wanted a house, 70% of everything, permanent alimony, and half of my business based on some crazy valuation. And, of course, she demanded half of my inheritance, which she claimed I had verbally promised to our marriage. My lawyer just laughed. "Standard shock and awe tactics," he said. Our response was anything but standard. We agreed the marriage was over, but we attached 3 exhibits. Exhibit A was the forensic accountant's report on my business. Exhibit B was a time-stamped, notarized documentation for the trust, showing the inheritance was long gone before she filed. Exhibit C was a year's worth of her credit card statements, showing a ridiculous spending habit that proved she didn't need my support. For 2 full days, there was just silence. I could picture her lawyer reading our response and realizing that the multi-million-dollar pie she'd promised her client had just vanished. On Monday, my phone rang. It was her lawyer, M. Davis, calling me directly. That's a huge professional no-no, and it reeked of pure panic. I let it go to voicemail. Her message was a complete change of tune. "I think there's been a major misunderstanding. My client is prepared to be much more reasonable. Please call me." A little while later, my wife stormed into my office, blowing past my assistant. The cool, calculating woman was gone. She was a mess, her face red and tear-streaked. "What did you do?" she screamed. "Where's all the money?" I just stayed calm. "Which money? My inheritance?" "Oh, that." I did some estate planning. Set up a trust for my niece. It's been in the works for a while. "You did this to spite me. You knew," she shot back. "All I knew," I said, "is that my wife was secretly meeting with a divorce lawyer while asking a lot of questions about my personal assets. I took prudent financial steps to protect myself. Nothing illegal about that." The fake tears started then. "I'll stop it," she sobbed. "I'll withdraw the petition. We can work this out. I promise." I stood up and held my office door open. "No, we can't. You don't want to work things out. You wanted a golden parachute. The only reason you want to stop is because you found out the plane is made of bricks. As you said, all future communication should go through my attorney." She stared at me with pure hate, unable to process that her master plan had been so completely and legally obliterated. Her attempts to salvage the situation were pathetic. Her lawyer sent a new offer, basically asking for us to just walk away with what we came in with. We refused and pushed forward. The divorce went through on our terms. She got half of the actual marital assets, which was a tiny fraction of her fantasy number. The house was sold, and the equity split. The judge threw out her alimony request. The last I heard, she was living with her mom, completely broke. It turns out, when you plan to burn someone's life down, you better make sure they don't have a fire extinguisher.